Devour Flesh, a handy weapon against all those hexproof decks that cut Brad to pieces.
Yes. So this is, I believe, a matchup that's typically in Mono Red's favor.
Yep.
The pedal deck has, as Brad referred to it, a certain failure rate. Some of your draws are kind of non-functional. Some of your draws are also predicated on certain pieces mixing and matching, and the red deck can break that up. That said, Andrew only has 4 pillars, 4 searing spears, and a brimstone volley to break up the combo, which actually isn't all that much, especially when your removal is tax killing other things like Arbor Elf, Deathrite Shaman, Huntmaster of the Fells, etc. So we typically don't associate the combo with being good against mono red, but against these builds that don't have that much removal, it actually is a thing.
And one of the gains to this list is also Stomping Ground gives Arbor Elf a lot more power in the deck, and enables such things as turn 2 Domri Raid, which is not a card that red is used to having to play against.
Yep. So you see Cliff on the play here, lead off with a Stomping Ground and an Arbor Elf matched by a Sacred Foundry. And a Stoneforge Noble.
In this situation, you could turn to the Domri Raid and just trade with the Noble with your Elf, which is not the worst against the red deck.
I think the Arbor Elf is too important, especially with Thragtusk in your hand. So we're going to see... Yeah, he's got Thragtusk in hand.
He did not pair, which I think we all saw coming there.
So an Ash Zealot, very good start for Andrew, but this could easily all be broken up. It doesn't even have to be Staticaster, just the general heavy hitters could be enough.
That's very true.
Another
Instinct. Ugh. That's not what Cliff really wanted on this turn.
No.
He would have vastly preferred to just have a Huntmaster or a Peddler, or a Staticaster.
So yeah, he's and this sequence is definitely representing that he needs that Arbor Elf. So if Andrew wasn't killing it before out of consideration for his curve and developing his board, he's certainly going to kill it now. He's just drawn a Searing Spear.
He did not have a kill spell for it before, so I think we're going to see Spear plus Cackler this turn.
Yeah, I know he has the Boros Reckoner in his hand, but I think you just had to get that Arbor Elf off the table.
Cackler's dealing almost as much damage as Reckoner once it starts swinging.
Sure, it's comparable.
Your rate's not that bad.
So Andrew mulling over his decision here. I feel like you're so far ahead, and that Tracker's Instinct turn is so bad. It sort of represents that he can't do anything better next turn unless he draws something of significance.
Yep. The Peddler also didn't turn sideways. It's possible Cliff is planning to chump it up. Yep, he's going to preserve his life total here.
Box number 5 to the side events banner, please.
This might incentivize Andrew to try and just get more.
Yeah, okay. This is right. Andrew took the path that I like there too.
Yeah, I like this. Cliff obviously very far behind. Even a Huntmaster is not going to be especially great.
I mean, he did rip Olivia, which if he can cast is at least a 4, but I actually don't think he has black. He doesn't have black mana still.
Nope. So he's light on black.
So now we're at a point where even if he has Thragtusk next turn, it's very likely to not be enough.
You just draw another 1-drop? Yeah, he drew a Stromperk Noble. He's going to Lightning Mauler, pair it up.
Yeah, this is a huge beating.
It's 10.
And you see Cliff doing the tapping, which is the counting up of the beatdowns.
I think that's 10, putting him to 3, which puts him...
Thragtusk is not enough.
Pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Breeding Pool is probably not going to win the game.
No.
Yeah.
So quick, and you can see sort of the charm of playing Boros in this format. People are getting, they're trying out new stuff with their mana. They're trying to play all these sweet cards together, and then not that the Peddler deck is particularly new, but
sure,
I'm sure this is not the first time today Andrew's run into a opponent with a bunch of disparate Ravnica duels in play and no real permanence.
Yeah, the Shocklands have definitely a non-zero value for their 2 damage, but it's certainly, I think, a lot worse in this room, where the red decks have been so good and are one of the more hyped decks going in.
Yep.
I might have even been inclined to shave shocks from a deck that I might normally play like a month or 2 into the season.
Sure.
For a tournament like this one. I know that some players like Tony Chu, in his blue-white-red deck, has deferred to 12 Buddy Lands, 10 shocks, versus the other, which you might have thought would be staple.
Yeah, just trying to hedge his light total just a little bit.
So moving to the sideboard, that's one of the matchups that Brad initially put his sideboard together for, mono red. He's got plenty of removal, Cliff does. He's added Devour Fleshes, which are probably coming in here as well as they do work in the Bant Hexproof matchup. Beyond that, he has Abrupt Decays and Mizzium Mortars. All of these basically 2-mana kill your guy.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to shift into. As far as sideboarding cards out, I don't think you can keep in all the Tracker's Instincts. They're very slow against red. And the Olivias, I expect, would also come out. They're incredibly weak, even when you don't know he doesn't know that Andrew has a slightly lighter burn complement, but even if he did, it's still pretty bad to pay 4 mana and get Searing Spear.
Yep. Andrew's side, he has 4 copies of Volcanic Strength, which is kind of a hit or miss card here. There's some draws that Cliff gets that Volcanic Strength is very good against, and there's some where it does not matter. So it's hard to evaluate because the range is so high. Like if he's Static Castering, pedaling you, or locking you out with Olivia, it's quite bad. But if he's trying to block with just like Thragtusks and Huntmasters, can be very good there. He's got 4 Skull Cracks. I'm not sure, again, if you're supposed to bring this in against every deck that has Thragtusk, because you need to keep it in your removal because Cliff certainly has numerous creatures that matter.
Sure.
You also can't cut every single creature out of your deck because you need to preserve your curve to put them under enough pressure, which is why, like, do you bring in 4 copies of Mizzium Mortars? It has targets. The game might get to the point where you're sweeping, but how much of this stuff can you afford to take out?
I think if I'm Andrew, I probably just want to hedge against Staticaster a little bit and take out some of the guys who are bad against it, just in general, whether there's a peddler involved or not.
So the Stone
strikes me immediately as the takeout, and I like Maulers, but I might shave down to 1 and use those 3 slots to kind of play with what I'm doing.
Well, I would cut off 4 for either Volcanic Strength or Skullcrack. Also, not a huge fan of Boros Charm in the matchup because Cliff has a lot of ways to gain life. I would rather. That's another spot where you need to be playing creatures and interacting with the board.
Sure.
And when you're doing that, you can only have so many Lava Axes. So
I actually think that the indestructible functionality is probably much better in this matchup, though, than the 4 damage.
Sure.
Being able to turn off a peddler zap at a key moment can really just blow out an attack step in short order.
Definitely has his moments, but I think if Cliff is winning the game, it's involving the board getting gummed down. So
that's fair to say. I might try and Mize one though. I do love a Mize. I do love a Mize. Cliff's going to be on the play, and Shockland tapped.
There's a Noble.
It's a good start for Andrew.
Can get it out in front of a potential Staticaster.
Cliff.
Some of his funkier lands.
Yeah, I think we might be seeing a Devour Flesh here, because I feel like I saw a Breeding Pool in his hand, and he would have just played that if he didn't have a card. Yep, Devouring the Flesh.
Two more 1s.
Yep. This is one of the more aggressive starts that Andrew can have here.
And he's still got a National left over too.
Yep. Disresolve, yes. Can I attack? Yep.
Well, this is the type of deck, draw rather, where unless Andrew's got some great follow-up, is actually bad against just Huntmaster the Fells. Whether or not Cliff has it remains to be seen. No, I guess not.
No Huntmaster, and there's a Hell Rider in Andrew's hand, so this game might be over before it even really started for Cliff. Hell Rider. Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Figured out which guy to sacrifice. It wasn't an especially tough one.
I mean, I think the Edicts are probably improve the matchup a little bit because they're better than other cards, but this is not the type of draw where you want a bunch of Diabolic Edicts.
Yep. He definitely found himself just positioned poorly.
And no 5th land for Thragtusk, and that's it.
Yeah.
Mono red, doing his thing.
Yeah, I boarded like 10 cards. It never matters. I'm pretty sure he said something to that effect there.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Cliff knocked it down to 7-1 now.
Yep,
right?
and Andrew 8-0 with. I mean, it's labeled Boros, and it's technically Boros, but pretty close to mono red.
8-0 and locked for top 8 probably.
Yep.
Barring Acts of God.
So we're going to be, since that was, I don't know, 7 minutes roughly, we're going to be able to move over momentarily to another match where we're going to have Brian Bronduin, Star City Games more of a video guy than a writer.
Yep,
Right.
yep. He has dabbled in both though.
Yes.
He's taken some time off. He now works for us full time actually.
Okay.
In the store or in the warehouse itself, I should say, as a member of our inventory team. So kudos to him on a recent promotion to that position.
Cool. And he's playing Humanimator.
He is playing Humanimator. I believe his list is exactly the same as Brad's that we featured earlier in round 1.
Yes.
They worked together building the deck for the tournament. And to quote Brian, I think the deck is insane.
Yeah.
And he started off undefeated. I believe he's on X1 now. He took his first loss last round, but obviously up a game right now.
Yeah, and he's playing against Blue White Red Flash. Chris Yarborough, we've had on camera before. His list is fairly conventional. I mean, he's got a couple weird one-ofs in his deck. He has a Singleton Syncopate. He has a Singleton Jace. 2 copies of Revelation. 2 Supreme Verdict Main. So, you know, not a couple unconventional card choices, but pretty close to the same kind of shell we've seen here for a while.
Now, I'm wondering the only thing that I'm sure BBD is wondering, which is, does he sideboard Rest in Peace?
He has 2 copies.
2 copies. All right, well, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. we can get 2.
So do you know what Brian's plan is against decks that potentially have access to Rest in Peace?
Against anyone who has white mana, they bring in Ray of Revelation. They have 3 copies, and they bring them in every single time. Because Rest in Peace is just by far one of the more powerful things their opponent can be doing, and Ray very effectively counters it. Sometimes you can even get it in the yard before a Rest in Peace comes down. Then it's what they call super effective.
So, why? I mean, what's the concern? What's the concern level over Grafdigger's Cage? I mean, that card also seems powerful. The assumption is just no one has it.
I think that the assumption is no one has it. The card is definitely about as good, I would say. But yeah, people have not been playing it as of late. Or if they have, they've been playing 1. I know that Jerry was championing Grafdigger's Cage instead of Purify or Rest in Peace. The big issue is, it's just not as good as the other cards, so I think it just doesn't get played as much.
Sure.
Should someone have it, they'd have BBD pretty much dead to rights, I think.
Yeah. So Brian, up a game here. I assume this matchup's pretty favorable for the Humanimator deck.
I like the Humanimator side of it quite a bit. You're constantly threatening to kill the opponent, and they have to spend time killing the mild creatures you play and worrying about your graveyard.
Yeah.
Not good.
Chris with a Hollow Fountain matched by Brian's Sunpellow Grove. Turn 2 Sulphur Falls.
Looks like Brian has, I think I see at least a Mulch in there, right? And a Farseek as well?
Yeah, he's got a lot of action.
Down instead. Yep.
Is Chris going to fight over this? No. He's
Can
gonna
Chris fight over this? Does he run like Syncopates or anything like that?
It says Syncopate. He has
Negate in the sideboard.
Yeah, he's got a Negate in his board.
So he may have just been feigning here. I think I see a pair of burn spells. I'm not sure which ones they are.
Yeah,
certainly an F&M promo of some kind.
Probably Searing Spear.
Probably. Pillar has received the treatment as well.
Oh, that's true.
I don't know if he would keep those in this matchup.
Well, it's tough, right? Because you have to fight over some of the little knuckleheads too. But if Brian's just going to be mulching and farseeking a bunch, those burn spells are horrible.
The concern I have is Searing Spear is definitely the best of the bunch, since you can use it to break up an infinite combo by killing the Fiend Hunter with a trigger on the stack. Mulch resolves. Mulch is one of the reasons I like the Humanimator side as well, because it's a form of actual card advantage in the matchup.
Yep.
And it just lets you overpower what they're doing by playing multiple spells per turn, while they lean on a weak suite of counter spells.
Right, as long as you're not under serious duress from something like Ice Saint Draft, it feels those cards are so powerful. You just get out in front of mana, and then the pressure's on them for them to act, because
otherwise you're going to do some real powerful stuff. BBD appears to be considering a second 2-drop of some kind, but declines. Staticaster,
showing up,
really big game here.
Showing up to the wrong party here.
Yeah, he brought those in. He runs 4 in his sideboard. One of them doesn't kill anything. So I'm a little curious.
And that's a big Grizzly Salvage too.
Yeah, that Grizzly Salvage.
I mean, Brian has to be aware of the fact that with Restoration Angel at the ready, he can pick off his 2s, so maybe he doesn't want to value Huntmaster that highly here.
I'm curious to see the Staticaster. It kind of implies that Chris sided out a lot.
Yes.
It also weakens some cards like Supreme Verdict in the matchup in general, because he has to commit something like a Staticaster to the board very early before we'll even know how good a Supreme Verdict could be.
Yeah, I think Brian's totally happy to just take his time, make his land drops, and get things set up.
He's going to play a Huntmaster. Obviously, the Restoration Angel worry is there, but if he loses it, then that's just one more for, for the Angel later, right? That Searing Spear.
Yeah, you got to be
again when it happens in the end step.
Yeah, Brian's got to be just totally thrilled with basically every turn of this game so far.
Yep.
Under no pressure, trading 1-for-1 with his Huntmasters and Staticasters in play, not really threatening anything. I mean, everything about this game is going
Excuse me, that's $10 draft number 16.
pretty close to exactly how you would script it if you were Brian.
I know this was one of the matchups that Brad cited as a strong one for the deck, and a primary incentive to play it. He expected a lot of players in this area to be on blue, white, red, and a lot of the top players.
Yeah. Gonna try to mulch?
We have a Cavern in play, actually. We should have gotten what that Cavern's on.
I would assume.
I assume human.
Well, I guess it could be Angel, right? If he's got.
He played a Huntmaster, so I kind of like that makes me think he just wanted it to be uncounterable. But in the matchup, I think Caverning Angel is very strong as well. So I am curious.
I mean, certainly the second Cavern.
Angel or human? Human. Okay, it is on human. All right. The second Cavern will certainly be on Angel. Yeah.
And we'll see if he has a 4 here, maybe another Huntmaster.
If he has a Huntmaster, he probably would have been inclined to not tap the Cavern, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So it's got to be something else. Cartel Aristocrat. I believe this might have been the card he was considering on an earlier turn. Again, you know, it's a card you kind of don't mind committing to the board.
Judge Brian to the main event stage, please.
Amusingly, this one can actually protect itself from the Restoration Angel Statcaster trick as well.
Yes. You saw a revelation for 2 there at the end of Brian's turn from Chris. Just a land and say go.
Land with 4 of them set to the side.
Suspiciously.
Suspicious indeed. Brian, of course, has known his opponent probably didn't have an Angel up to this point because his opponent hasn't done anything that would that was better than playing a Restoration Angel.
Yeah, the Searing Spear on the Huntmaster a couple times.
The goose,
yeah.
Now, however, he might be a little concerned. If you guys are watching, we have temporarily lost our overlay, it looks like. But don't mind that. We'll get it fixed up for you. Staticaster blocking Wolf. Chris takes 2. I believe that is the first damage of the game, which would put him down to 20 as he Sphinxes last turn.
Another Huntmaster.
There he is. Uncounterable werewolf himself.
And this is what I like about the Humanimator deck is Brian kind of just do, you know, this kind of crap, for lack of a better word. Just play some good creatures and build up the board, and you know,
it's suspiciously threatening too.
Yeah, you gotta do something, right, with this stuff going on, and he just gets to take his time, and all the while the threat of something gigantic looms. I mean, just getting killed looms over everything. But Chris can't just like let all the honest stuff go too, because that adds up.
Yep. Brian does have a Ray of Revelation in the bin at this point, so he can protect his graveyard. I think he's actually probably not inclined to fill it anymore. He has enough now that any Unburial Rites looks really good. He does not have Fiend Hunter to like actual infinite loop, but he can actually play Fiend Hunter after getting an Angel into play as well.
Sure.
With his Cavern on human, if he Unburial Rites and that resolves, he can play an uncounterable Fiend Hunter and then just get his opponent immediately.
A second Staticaster might be able to make a little bit of some inroads into the board now.
Yep. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't Resto Angel to kill those wolves off, just to, you know, kind of cool things off. 2 Staticasters will relatively effectively thwart Brian's offense. Now he's drawn a Ray as well. And he has an Angel in his hand. This is getting a little awkward. I can see an Angel in Brian's hand as well, so he can just go for a natural Angel. If Chris has a counterspell, he has a counterspell.
Yep.
And if he doesn't, whatever. Like,
Yeah, you have to slog through them at
that's
some
it.
point,
Yeah. He can even do so while holding up a green for his rest in peace in the graveyard, which I think that seems fine here. I would probably attack before doing that, but I'm not against it in theory. He's going to go for a Fiend Hunter. Perhaps he assumes at this point that Chris just doesn't have a rest in peace, and he wants to try and set up a combo in the next turn.
Sure.
He
I mean,
can also...
it's certainly not in his hand if Chris has it somewhere in his deck.
Right. He can here use his Fiend Hunter to permanently remove a Staticaster. I'm not sure if he would want to. It seems fine to me. Stack trigger, target. Yep, sacrifice in response to the trigger. So he is attempting to get rid of that Staticaster forever. The Fiend Hunter is in the graveyard. Once he's declared it, that's happened. So the board is a little misrepresenting, since it's a cost for the ability.
Yeah.
Alright, so the Wolves all have 1 damage on them. He's getting pro-red, I imagine, on his Cartel Aristocrat. Can't imagine why I'd choose a different color. And now he can use the Cartel Aristocrat to also counter the attempt to kill both Wolves by sacking the one that gets targeted. Block. Try to shoot that other wolf. Sack the Aristocrat in response. And since we already chose red, we don't have to worry about getting your Aristocrat Searing Spear during combat. I'm assuming we chose red, obviously. So.
Yeah. And this is like, what we were talking about before. This honest stuff is adding up.
Yep.
Like, Chris has to start using resources at some point to just stop this sort of innocuous stuff that's going on the board.
You can only take 2 damage so many times before you're at 0, I don't think BBD should feel I need to do much else. Like if he has like a mulch or something like that, I guess he could do that. But
Flashback of looting, that's fine too.
Sure, yeah. There's definitely no need to commit farther to the board. We're doing fine there. Looks like we have another looting, which I imagine we'll discard.
Looting plus Brave Revelation probably goes.
Yeah. He might want to hold the second ray in case he draws 2 rest in pieces, although that seems unlikely, and at this point, I don't know. He is discarding those 2. Okay. Searing Spear takes care of the Huntmaster. Sacks to give it pro-purple in response. Supreme Verdict. Awkward.
Yeah, and Chris really needs to make some sort of effort to push forward on the board at some point. He can't sit here trying to play this removal game all day because if Brian finds either Unburial Rites or just a second Cavern and can start just playing his Angels.
You really can't just afford to get 2 for 1 to buy Huntmaster the Fells all day.
Yeah.
Like, that's not an acceptable path. He's decided to shock himself. That indicates he's going to Verdict and hold up an Angel. No, he just shocked himself. Maybe it's a Snapcaster in his hand as the blue card?
Probably.
I've been wondering what the blue card is.
Or just probably Sphinx's Revelation.
All I see is a Resto, a blue card, and a Supreme Verdict. If he has a Sphinx's as well, then yeah, I would definitely shock myself. But he appeared to consider playing it tapped first. So that kind of makes me think he has Snapcaster for Spear with a Resto Angel.
Flashback on the Faithless Looting.
See a Mulch and some lands.
Yeah, we're going to get rid of a couple duels.
Yeah, seems fine. Just keep up the beats.
I mean, this attack is, on the surface looks risky because of Restoration Angel, but I think Brian's just happy if that card gets out of the hand.
It's interesting that he looting before combat. I'm kind of wondering what he was hoping to hit,
Maybe another Fiend Hunter?
Maybe. Because like, if you can get your opponent to tap out and do something, he does Snapcaster here. If you can get your opponent to tap out and do something silly, like you can post-combat Angel is not the worst.
Yeah, so we're going to Revelate for 3 off our Snapcaster there.
We drew another Snap. Looks like he had a couple lands. An Augur Bolus, another Snapcaster. A Morlandhon is one of the lands. That's relevant. Not yet relevant. But.
Yeah, something to get some amount of pressure going. Plays an Augur.
Land. Well, that's sort of a win.
Yeah.
As Augurs go. If you're going to miss with an Augur, those are the misses you want to make.
Right. I don't even think Chris has any counters in his hand.
No, he does not. He has not this entire time. BBD could have just ended this, but obviously BBD doesn't know that. You know?
Yeah. But at a certain point, like as Brian pushes harder and harder, it's gonna dawn on him that there's nothing there.
BBD is a very cautious player, just in general. So
sure.
I'm not surprised to see him taking things slow. He may be trying to build to the point where he can writes twice in the same turn, perhaps. Does he have any Unburial in the graveyard, actually?
I do not believe so.
And I know he has none in his hand. There's no black cards in there.
He found a cavern.
That's a pretty sizable game, as games go. Well, we know what we're doing next turn. Whoop,
slow down.
A little excited.
Don't let him know about that one.
Don't let him know about that one. That's a good one. Cavern is important, shall we say. Now, we won't be able to actually kill Chris. We can just gain nigh infinite life.
It's pretty close to good enough.
Pretty close to good enough, but... He will have the potential ability to naturally deck us. Once you do that, that's about his only kill condition.
Right. Trying to thought scour you out and drag the game out long enough.
And he may still have that Jace, you never know. I often go into the Jace plan myself against reanimator decks if I feel like my sideboard is strong enough to hedge them off the Unburial Rites plan.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like wrangling the board until I can Jace them to death in like 2 activations.
Sure. Gonna see another revelation here, I think? No, Resto Angel.
Resto Angel. Blinking Augur. Looking for a whammy. Resto, Oblivion Ring, Jace.
He does have the Jace.
It's now on the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, that was an important one, you know. Yeah.
I've been there with Augur. Bottoming Jace feels like the worst because it's always like, Jace would have been really good right there.
Yeah. And now with that cavern, I think next turn Brian's going to start.
He has to salvage at the end of the turn to juice things a little more. No, he's just going to hold it. Might be a little fearful with Jace. Might just want to be able to rebuild in case something goes wrong. He wanted to trigger his Huntmaster. Chris didn't do anything, so I like that choice. He's going to zap Snapcaster.
And now we're going to see how much Brian wants to pull the trigger. It's weird to me that, if Jace is something that is on his mind, then he needs to sort of... He can't play around everything forever. At a certain point, he's got to just start doing some things.
I imagine he's just going to post-combat this Angel. He might as well attack, because if he loses any creatures in combat, he wants to get them back.
Right, that makes sense.
One of the downsides of this kill is the lack of an instant kill, as opposed to the Falcon Wrath Aristocrat interaction. Yep, here he goes.
Time to find out what Chris is working with.
BBD wasting no time, just immediately starts pulling out humans. This one, and this one, and this one, and this one.
An embarrassment of riches.
Yeah. No, not the Angel BBD. There we go. All right, well, here we go. Now the customary, I'm going to do it this way.
How much practice do you think it takes to get fluent in the organization of your triggers here?
Very, very little. Perilously little, I might say. So he's going to kill every creature on Chris's board. Perhaps an incentive to doing this before you attack, actually, considering that ability. Chris implying he has a response to one of these Fiend Hunter interactions. BBD appears to be going for the greed by Fiend Huntering Static Caster rather than double Fiend Huntering Angel of Glory's Rise. The double Fiend Hunter and Angel of Glory's Rise prevents you from getting blown out by a Searing Spear. And by blown out, I mean you still have like 20 guys in play.
Yeah.
So it could be worse.
Yeah, blown out might be strong language.
He is going to Snapcaster Searing Spear. Yeah, so BBD should have probably gone for exiling all the guys after gaining infinite life. Because, yeah, that's better. Actually, I guess he may be able to interrupt it either way. Thinking about it, yeah, if he just targets the one that targets first.
Sure.
Okay. I'm misremembering my own order there. Never mind, BBD, you did it right. Or right enough. I'm not going to give him full credit. That's ludicrous. We've still got some incoming wolf tokens, I believe.
Yeah.
There we go.
Some howlers.
I've seen a couple missed triggers today out there in the field, I'm not going to lie, but I know BBD's better than that.
Finds a Restoration Angel, which allows him to Restoration Angel for Augur.
I think he's just going to cast the Supreme Verdict.
Oh, he has a verdict, sure.
Which seems like a good play.
I guess, but it's just all coming back.
Yeah. Well, BBD doesn't have a rights yet, so I think he'll Grizzly Salvage during the end step now.
Yeah, now you might as well now.
Since he had one of those thingies.
The only thing that's of concern, right, is the risk of just getting decked.
A Rest in Peace would have been like a really sick draw this turn. Like this is the one turn where it would have been incredible. It might have been enough to just put Chris too far ahead.
Okay, another Angel.
Oh, another Angel works. I'm curious if BBD sided out his Rest in Pieces or his Unburial Rights.
Maybe.
That's like
he's looked at a million.
Line, but I wouldn't side out all of them.
He's looked at a million cards, right?
He has transitioned into a plan that makes him mostly immune to counterspells, but at the same time, like Unburial Rights is such a good mid-game value play, like the ones he was making.
Yeah. That
I kind of like keeping him in just for that. BBD going, all right, now for real this time.
Yeah, the first Angel was just playing around.
Yeah. How many Searing Spears can he have to get through, you know? Now he's going to explain, I'm doing the same thing. Interestingly, last time he could have perhaps preserved his advantage as well by just Fiend Huntering, one of his other guys in case of the Supreme Verdict to just keep some beats on if he didn't have, Grizzly Salvage for the nuts again.
Yep. So announcing the triggers and making a ton of dudes and getting a ton of life.
I assume our director will let us know if BBD is at an arbitrarily large amount of life. Is that the case here? Or does he just let it go?
Yep. And there it is. Human Reanimator. 2
billion
billion
was the number BBD
yeah.
chose. As I talked to Brad in our deck check, that is actually not the correct number. Travis Wu has popularized a deck recently that deals a non-infinite amount of damage, but it is incredibly large. It's something in the septillions.
Okay.
So you want to go a little bigger than the billions.
How can you do that much damage and not go infinite?
It's a Primal Surge Crater Hoof Behemoth deck.
Oh,
so,
okay,
yeah.
sure, yeah. So you end up
right
doing
in his wheelhouse, really.
Yeah.
So you want to choose a big number. I think we've decided on Googleplex. John Johnson on Facebook did the math. He posted as a note. He's a podcaster as well, I believe, and a trader, if you will, a TRADER.